Hi everyone! Today we will be talking about product feedback prioritization. Having a good customer feedback management has a direct impact on customer satisfaction, lifetime value, and churn. So before I show you how to create your feedback management and prioritization in Jira and Foxly, let's have a look on the feedback lifecycle. We defined our product feedback lifecycle by these 4 stages: collect, analyze, prioritize, and communicate. In the collect phase, we are storing all customer feedback from all possible sources, from service desk tickets to forums, emails, customer calls, and social media. We always store raw feedback, which is exact words our customer mentioned, and this is especially important for us so we understand the vocabulary they're using, and we also don't want to create assumptions and solutionize in the first place. Then in the analyze phase, we are grouping customer feedback to the bigger buckets that we call improvements. And in the next phase, we are prioritizing these improvements by using adjusted RISE prioritization model. Then the improvements that scored highest make their way to the development, and how many of them always depends on the team capacity. Then once improvement is delivered, we need to close the loop. Now all the work with logging exact sources of the feedback pays off, as we can go and communicate back to the customer which suggestions were addressed. Alright, so enough of concepts and let's have a look on the setup itself. Our product team is working on multiple different apps, and each Jira app has their own project. However, when it comes to product feedback, we dump everything into a separate project called product feedback, so we can evaluate most impactful improvements across all of our products. In our product feedback project, we have 2 types of issues: suggestions and improvements. We use suggestions to store the raw customer feedback. In the description, we add the feedback and the other notes which are necessary. We also set up a few custom fields like raised by, where we store who raised the feedback, customer status, or the size of the customer. We also link the ticket with the source so we can then contact customer back once the feedback gets delivered. To make it clear which product is the suggestion for, we use epics. This also comes handy when you need to filter backlog only by a specific product. And now the process. All suggestions are raised in backlog. Once per week or 2, depending how much feedback we received, we go through the suggestions with the team and group them into the improvement buckets. Sometimes it's clear what the improvement should be. Sometimes the improvements are formed as a problem or a questions which we are trying to solve. So we create an improvement and link all suggestions that lead to this improvement. When doing that, it's good to move already processed suggestions from the backlog to the board, so you know they were already processed. Now when we go through Kanban, you can see the steps our improvement is going to go through. All improvements which are waiting to be addressed are in a featured to-do column. Now when finished analyzing feedback, we have improvements we can start prioritizing. This is done in Foxly using adapted RISE prioritization method. In our prioritization model, we use reach to define how many users is this feature going to impact. We have 3 options to choose from. There is massive for features that are used on a daily basis, mediocre for features that are used by just some users, and small for areas that are used very, very little. Then we have a vote. This tells you how many customers raised this feedback that is going to be addressed with this improvement. This field is populated automatically and represents number of linked suggestions. I'll show you how to set this up automation later in this video. Impact metric is used to define how much is this feature contributing to our goals. And then the last is an effort metric, which is representing the size of the feature when considering all parties involved from design to development and testing. The final score is then calculated by following formula. When all improvements are discussed and metrics assigned, thanks to the priority score, we have a clear understanding which improvement we should pick up first. And if we want to identify low-hanging fruit, which are improvements with high impact and low effort, we use priority matrix for that. When we here plot impact on x-axis and effort on y-axis, then all issues in this quadrant are the ones we can call quick wins. Adding the votes metric as the size of the bubble can also give you a nice understanding of most popular improvements. Now let's have a look on how to automate assigning of the votes metric to represent number of linked suggestions, so we don't need to do this manually. To achieve this, we are going to use custom field for our votes metric and automation for Jira. First, we need to enable custom field in the Foxly settings. Once that's done, if we are using next-gen projects, we need to enable this custom field for our issues in this project. And if you are using classic projects, you don't need to set up anything else. Now we can go to automation for Jira and set up the rule. The trigger for automation will be when issue is linked. And in our case, we always link as relates to, so we are filtering only these types of links. Because linking issues is action that is performed by 2 tickets, we need to make sure we cover both. And that's why we need to use the branch rule to make sure we run automation on both issues that we linked to and issue that we are linking from. Then we do a lookup to find all issues that are linked so we can then use their number to edit a custom field. And we run the same rules for current issue too. Only difference is that instead of destination issue, we use only issue when doing a lookup. And that's it. Now every time someone links the issues together, number in the votes metric gets automatically updated. Alright, so back to the board. We prioritize our improvements, and now when teams starts working on some, we move them into progress and link the tickets. Once improvements gets delivered, move them into notify user column. And now it's time to close the loop and notify all customers who contributed to this improvement. And it's not a big deal anymore because we stored all information in the linked suggestions ticket. Once all customers are notified, we can then close the improvement altogether with all linked suggestions. And that's it for now. I'm sure there will be more improvements to this feedback management, but I think it's a great start to make sure that the voice of the customer is heard and we always let customer know that we delivered. There are plenty of options for automation, similar to what we've done with votes metric. I can imagine, for example, choosing the right reach metric based on the component that the improvement is impacting, or connecting story points to the effort metric if your team prefers to keep using story points field instead. If you have any great ideas, let us know in the comments, and in the meantime, happy prioritizing!